All right, so another cool thing we added is actually under the edit screen. So if you go select a property record and you click on edit, it's going to take you to the edit screen. You're going to notice that at the very top of the screen, something has changed. So, for example, this property is in the pending preliminary research status. And as you may know, that means that as long as you have the um, property zip code and a property address, you should have some options up here at the top normally. You should have like a mapping option, you should have a offer calculator option, and you should have a property research option, which is going to contain like your Trulia.com, Zillow.com, and these are what you're going to use to comp out your properties, determine the market value, and then you're going to use the offer calculator to determine your offer. So notice that you don't have those options anymore. So you might be wondering, well, where did they go? Because those are very useful options. And the answer is we moved them to this section called options. Okay. So we made an entirely new kind of category called record options, and we have a sub menu for it. And so if you click on the options, new menu here, you'll see that it has, for example, market research, which is going to have your realtor.com, trulia.com, landwatch, things like that. Same as before, you can click on them. They take you over to landwatch, all that good stuff. It still works the same. It still has your offer calculator that pops up here. So everything works like it did in the past. We even added some more, like you can generate documents under this status. You couldn't do that before. So you can, generate a document for this record, and you can also bring up the property map for the record. So the reason why we changed the layout of this and we added this drop down here called options is because we want to add a lot more options, a lot more record options, calculators, tools, things like that to the different statuses as we come out with new updates and things. So it was very important for us to add this layout change because we were running out of space on this bar. Depending on the size of your screen, you would see some of the items and some not, and so we were running into this issue of not having enough space for all of it. But now, since we updated the layout of it, you'll notice that we can add a lot more options, which is going to help out. Now they're still triggered or connected to the status. So, for example, if I move this to prospect and update the record, you'll notice that only the options for a prospect record are going to show, which are the generate documents and the view on map if you have an address or something. If you don't have an address, a property address, then you're not going to see the view on map option either. It'll just be the generate documents. When you move to mailed letter 1, for example, same thing. You're going to have generate documents, new offer requests, because at that time you've already mailed the letter out, and so you can process them as a new offer a new offer request. And then you've got the view on map if you have a directions to the property or an address or a GPS coordinate for the property. This is going to show up. And so as you move this along, including when you get to the complete ready to sell status, you're going to see, the options for generating the ad, generating the listing show up here. So again, the functionality of this doesn't change much from before, but the layout changes. I am going to show you in another clip here another cool thing that our byproduct of this update, and that is that if you create your own custom status, so I'm not talking about the built-in statuses here, which are these ones, but if you add a custom status like a blind offer status or like a mailed letter to status, you can actually now, in this update, you can actually add your own options to that status. You couldn't do that in the previous version of the Investment Dominator. So that's going to be a big help and an update to this. I'm going to create a separate clip about that, so I won't talk about it too much here. But in this clip, I just want you to know that be aware of this new layout change, because if you're wondering where stuff went and you think it's missing, it's not missing, it's just under the options. And the other thing that changed on this edit screen, I'm going to go ahead and toggle the sections down, is we added 2 more sections. One is called notes, okay? And the one is called links, okay? And so let's talk about notes for a second. When you go into your system there and you pull up a record, if you go under the new notes section, you should see at least one note if you've added a note in the past. So if you remember in the previous version, the notes were under the admin only section, and there was a field called notes. The problem that presented is that there was only one field for notes. So if, for example, you wanted to create a timestamp for the notes, you wanted to add multiple notes, you couldn't really do that because you only had one note field. Um, so that was a concern. So what we did was we added this area here where you can just add multiple notes. So for example, you can say, okay, this property has a great view to it. Okay, this is just a note, and you can choose whether it's private, or public, and this really is going to affect whether it displays on your website listing in the end. Okay, so it's really not going to matter until you get to the point of selling the property when you create your listing on your selling site. If it's set to public, it's actually going to show up on that listing as a note. Okay, if it's set to private, it's only going to show up for you as an admin because you're logged into the backend. Okay, now if it's set to private and it also is set to admin only, then your reps, like your users in the back end of your application that are set up as reps, they're not going to be able to see this note. So if you want them to be able to see it, then you're going to have to choose the type admin and rep note. Okay, this is going to allow both the admins and the reps in your system to be able to see this note. And we'll go ahead and add one here, and you can see that when you add it, it just creates a record here. If you hover over this little preview icon, you can see what the note was. If you want to edit it, you can go in there and you can edit the note and add something to it and just update it, and that's how that works. Now, if you go here, and let's just say that I'm going to add another note, and I'm going to make this public, meaning that it's going to show up on my selling site listing eventually when I get to that point. And in that case, I also want the admin and rep to users to see it, as well as the public. And let's say that this note is, you have to, or let's just say the property has 15 foot setbacks. Okay, so this was just a note that you could add, and what this is going to do is it's going to add it to your listing. Okay, so if we take a look at the listing over here, so generate listing, you can see here that there's a new section called notes at the bottom, and it's going to put in the note that you created. All right, so that's kind of cool. Let's go over to the new links section, and the links work the same way. You can add, these are kind of like reference links. So let's just say that, you got a county website. So you can say this is a county GIS site. This might be for you. And let's just say that it's www.gis.com, and you can even put in variables. So let's just say that this GIS site has like an APN variable. Then if you know what that is, you could just say, APN 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it will actually post this. And again, these can be made private and public. Again, public means that it's going to actually show up on the website, on your selling site listing. Private means it's just for you, for your reference. So let me go ahead and add a private one right now. And you can see how it looks here. You can click on it. It's going to open in a new window. This is actually not a site, so I'm not going to click on that. But let me create another one, and then I'll show you how it might look on the public end. So let me click Add Link. And this time I'm going to make it public. And this is just going to be a Google search, just for reference sake. And Google, you're going to go www.google.com, let's say. And then they do have, if I remember right, they have a search parameter. It's called Q equals, and let's just say, I don't know, Arizona. Just put in this, and let's go here, And you can see here, this is the link. Now, when you click on it, it's going to open in a new tab. You can see it already put Arizona under the search because it picked up this variable that we put in the link. Okay, so that's one way to use it. And Google is just an example. You can do this on other sites, possibly. The other thing is, since we made this a public link, it's going to show up on our listing. So if we take a look at the listing here and refresh it, you can see that we have this new section again down at the bottom of the listing that says links, and then it's got the links listed. And you can have multiple links, and you can have multiple notes, and it just shows up as different bullet points. Okay, so that should save you some time, especially when you're going through and you're researching. You want to create notes really quickly as you do the research. And you want to create reference links as you find them on the properties. And then when you get to the marketing side, when you bought the property and you want to sell it, there's no reason for you to go back and add these links in the description. Just make those links public so that the people viewing your listings get the benefit of these links. So these links might be references to like county websites, to just different activities in the area, like places to see. They could be map links, for example. They could be links to GIS systems, or links to resources like well drilling companies, utility companies in the area, builders in the area, things like that. So I think this is going to be huge for you guys as you do your research and promote your properties and create your listings. This is going to be a huge help, both the new notes section and the link section. So check that out. The other thing that I want to say that we updated on this edit screen, property edit screen, is actually going to be under the property listing tab. If you remember, in the old version or the previous version, we only had one field for the property description. Okay, so this is the property description. Oops. Okay. And if we save this, if you remember, it shows up at the top of your listing right here, and also on your listings where it has all your properties. It's going to show up in this section right here. Okay. So the new thing that we added is you actually have two descriptions. You have a short description. There's a character count for that. This is the one that's going to be shown on the listings page, this one right here. So this is a shorter description. But when you click on view details and you go to the longer description, you can you have the option to add a longer description. And the cool thing that we added here is this HTML editor, this WYSIWYG editor. And so this allows you to say, this property is awesome, and you can put some bullet points. Number one, number two, reason number two, reason number three, why it's so cool. But you could put, you can just use this basic HTML editor to add pictures, to add bullet points, to add links, and little divs, if you know what that is, and quotes, things like that. You can paste content in here from other sources using this paste as plain text option. You can bold stuff, like you could just highlight and bold it. So this is all things that you can do in the previous version. This is going to allow you to make beautiful listings, and again, all this stuff right here, once you save it, is going to show up right on your page. You'll notice that when I saved that, the longer description shows up on the property details page, and the short description shows up on the listing page. Okay, so that is going to be huge, I think, for your marketing. And let me go back to that section real quick under property listing. The other thing I want to mention here is, just like before, you still can add HTML to this, meaning you can copy and paste like a YouTube video and embed that into this section here. If you just paste it into this area, it's not going to work. You have to be under the source of this area. And so this little option right below it that says edit source, this is going to allow you to put in HTML. So if you click edit source, it's going to come up with a warning here. All right, because the warning is basically telling you, hey, you're going into the source code now, so please make sure that you're not adding anything that's incorrect. Because again, if you do add something incorrect, like a tag that's not really written properly, then it's going to affect your listing and possibly your selling site. Okay, so depending on what you put in there. Um, but if you're just copying and pasting code from like YouTube, when their embed code and things like that, or PayPal code, like a PayPal button code, then you should be fine because you're not really creating anything. You're just copying and pasting. But this is a little warning to you that you're getting into an area where you should kind of pay attention. So you want to go under, click on I understand and would like to proceed. This is going to take you into the source code area. So if you wanted, to paste in an embed code for a video, you could do that here. Or like I said, a PayPal button. These are kind of common tags that you might put in there, or like a share on Twitter, share on social type button. You can just copy and paste it into this area. Then when you want to go back into a design view or the HTML editor view, you just click where it says view design. That takes you back to this HTML editor, which is much more safe for you to play around with, and kind of change the fonts, change the sizes. Or you want to make it larger, obviously, awesome. Okay, and and add pictures and things like that. So play around with that, but that's going to be a nice little update to the system. I know a lot of people have been asking for that because they want to add bullet points, they want to add extra graphics and icons and things like that, and this is going to help you out with making sure you can add all that. So that's basically what we've updated on this property edit screen.